Hi, Fedde. You are a true heavyweight in the electronic music scene whose work has helped shape modern house music. From getting dance floors to put their hands up for Detroit, releasing bangers on your Darklight Recordings imprint, and playing huge festivals such as Tomorrowland, your influence runs deep across the dance music community. It's a real pleasure to have you join us on the show today. How are you doing?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm doing great actually. I've been in a good spot for a while, so I'm good.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Well, look, we always like to start at the beginning and roll things back. So, can you describe to us, growing up in the Netherlands and how you first discovered electronic music around there?
Um, I mean, for as long as I can remember, I've always been interested in music generally. My parents had like very few rules, but one of the rules was we had to take dancing lessons, ballroom dancing lessons. Seems not so relevant right anymore, but they thought it was important. We
Uh-huh.
had to do sports and play a musical instrument. And one of the things that, because I mean, of course you're a kid, so you don't want to do any of those
Yeah.
except sports.
Yeah.
But so I chose the keyboard for a musical instrument because at least it had buttons and could do things. So because general electronics was always interesting for me. So that was I think that was maybe the very first spark. I always liked music.
Hmm.
My mom and my dad let us stay up if I don't know, like the new video clip of Michael Jackson or whatever came out and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So, um, but I actually it took me a while to figure out to really DJ. I mean, like I got introduced to DJing by a friend in school who had um, like I mean, real turntables, but not the professional ones. But they had like proper pitch and everything,
Yeah.
and so they were fairly good.
Hmm.
So a lot of times after school, you would go there and just dig into his records, which was mainly acid records back then.
Yeah.
It was not really my thing, but it was the whole thing of learning how to mix. Which was just a fun pastime
Yeah.
thing, nothing serious. Um, when I finished, what's that in English? Middle school, I guess. When I finished that, I just had no idea what I wanted to do. I just had no clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first moment that I sort of figured that I wanted to give this whole DJ slash nightclub promoter, because I have to go back a little bit.
Hmm.
After I learned how to play, like a few years later, as sort of like a side job,
Hmm.
I played in like a student cafe thing, everything top 40 hip
Yeah.
hop, but there was some mixing involved, and it earned me a little money, so great.
Hmm.
Um, that was in Utrecht, which is sort of like in the middle of the country,
Uh-huh.
and I was still in touch with the friend who actually taught me how to play, and he took me to like an actual house party.
Hmm.
Um, it was pretty underground place, but I absolutely loved it. The main thing I remember, I danced. I actually know the DJ, which was Dimitri,
Hmm.
not from Paris, but from Amsterdam in this case.
Yeah.
Uh, Freaking brilliant guy. And I just danced the whole freaking night, but without anything, just
Mm.
drinking water. And I was like, oh my god, what is this? Everybody's so friendly, and everybody's having a great time. So I think that is when I fell in love with it personally.
Hmm.
and and now fast forward a little bit again, when I played in that a student bar, at least I was playing, but that was also my first thing. I started organizing my own parties like once every 6 months, and doing like a house party, because that was still, I fell in love with that because of that one night,
Yeah.
but I couldn't play that there normally,
Yeah.
so I started organizing things. So I actually, for myself, to be really honest, but so I could play house music. But
Yeah.
yeah, people showed up,
Hmm.
and it was pretty successful. So I think that's where I really got a taste of it.
Yeah.
And then when I had to choose something to study, which I had like no freaking clue. Um, I thought like, hey, I'm just gonna. I actually talked to my parents like, hey, I really want to give this a go.
Mm.
I knew a little bit about producing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
through the years. I read a lot back then
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, online was not so sufficient yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, sort of like built my first studio in the garage of my parents' house.
Amazing.
Got like a bunch of stuff with two other guys
Yeah.
because I mean it was just way too expensive
Yeah.
because this was still all hardware. You know,
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
a Kai sampler. We had the Mackie D8B mixer which had Total Recall, which was like super fancy.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I had like a 909 and Yomux, I think the brand was called. So it was not a real 909, but it sounded like.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me turn on my email.
No worries.
Um, yeah, so kind of started producing a little bit. Agreed with my parents that I would give this a go for like 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
which seemed to me reasonable. But just to figure out if there was any future in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this was of course early days where I mean, it was not. It was anybody who I told like, "Hey, I want to become a DJ," just freaking laughed straight in my face. It was just like, "Yeah, sure, yeah."
Yeah.
It was not. It was not a
It's another
thing
thing. Yeah.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was there, but it was so underground that
Yeah.
like your average person was like, "Yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this guy fell off the train or something," you know. So yeah, so I guess that's where I went from. Oh, this is fun to do as
Mm-hmm.
a sort of like activity after school
Yeah.
to like really sort of having serious thoughts about it.
Yeah. And it's fantastic to have that support from your parents as well and to have like a bit of a plan together in terms of let's see how I go for, for 3 years. I mean, was the intention always to, you were saying you were DJing and putting on parties and promoting things as well, but then obviously the production angle, you're buying this equipment with some friends. Was the intention always to be more of a producer than a DJ, or did you want to mash the two together from the off?
No, I mean like I guess I figured out pretty fast that I mean I've always been sort of I guess I grew over that, but when I was younger I was very shy, so I figured out pretty quickly that I was never gonna be the guy that was gonna walk into a club and be like, "Yo, I'm so and so, you gotta book me." You know,
Yeah.
I was never gonna be that dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of figured like, okay, if I learn how to make music, you know, I get to know more people in the scene.
Yeah.
If I organize those parties, and I've done that for quite a while actually
Mm-hmm.
throughout my career, because that was my way to get in touch with other DJs that I admired
Mm-hmm.
without sort of being a stalker. You know, I would just book them
Yeah.
on my night,
Yeah.
and then I would be like, "Hey, yeah, so and so," and we got to talking, and it's like, "Oh yeah, I'll make some music and blah blah blah." So, so that was sort of that was my plan in my head.
Yeah.
And in terms of support, my mom was all in. My dad was, uh, I mean, doubtful at best, but he was not like, "Oh no, you're not gonna do this," because I mean they did hear that I was sort of like semi responsible
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that you know I gave it a timeline.
Yeah.
I actually had to get a loan with my friends
Yeah.
because everybody put some money in, which in hindsight was I mean yeah I wouldn't recommend that to anyone to. So I think it was like I don't know like 20 something I guess, and I already had like 100K. I was in debt from
Wow.
all this stuff, and
Yeah.
the most horrible thing was that I think like maybe a year and a half in, um, Logic came out
Mm-hmm.
with the first edition where everything was in the box.
Yeah.
We not only me, we were all like just freaking crying. You know, we bought all this stuff, and all of a sudden you could do everything in the box, which is so normal now. But
Yeah.
back then that was like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we managed to sell most of it in time, and
Yeah.
then switch to in the box producing.
Awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
so what year was that? So what actually happened in that 3 year period then? Did you get to a point where it's like, actually, I've achieved what I thought I would in that 3 year period and I'm cracking on? Like, what year was that?
I mean, I mean, honestly, I think you have to be a little. You have to have a little blind spot if you want to do this
Mm-hmm.
for maybe for yourself, maybe for the dangers on the road. Let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So I was definitely thinking I was making a lot of progress.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, it was not as much as I as I thought, but yeah, I got involved with actually one. His name is Eric Eerthausen.
Mm-hmm.
He still DJs actually. Like he was one of my freaking heroes. So I got in touch with him. Actually signed a record to his label.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was some movement
Yeah.
through him. I got my first bookings agency, uh, which is a big word.
Mm.
I mean, he had two artists, me and Eric. But yeah, so that it got more professional
Yeah.
on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still doing bachelor parties, and
Yeah.
I was playing house music though, but it was
Yeah.
nothing amazing or something. And I guess like it was enough for my parents. I mean, once the 3 year passed, it was enough to sort of for my parents to say like, okay, and yeah, I mean, not that they could have stopped me anyways, but that they saw like, okay, he's serious about it.
Yeah.
Did this? He's really making some progress.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, still, it was not. I couldn't live off it or
Yeah.
anything because I mean, anything that I made would go right back into buying records.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I it's a little vague for me what was when, but then after a while, through this agency actually, I scored a residency in actually one of the more famous clubs here in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big deal
Mm-hmm.
because that opened up some more doors again.
Yeah.
All of a sudden at the record store. I mean, I guess young listeners have no idea what like record store or what, but yeah, you used to actually go somewhere
Go
and
and
buy
hang
a record.
out.
Yeah, but yeah, the thing, the way it worked is that the 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 limited pressings, the the let's say the best records were of course kept back
Yeah.
for bigger fish. So
Mm-hmm.
once I scored that residency, I kind of got access to those kind
Yeah.
of records as well.
Yeah.
So the game changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Played there for quite a while, then that closed down.
Right.
They went bankrupt.
Yeah.
So I was back to sort of like square one.
Uh-huh.
Got a residency. I mean, not even close to what that club was, but at least music wise, it was great. But it was literally like a cafe. They
Mm-hmm.
would, you could eat there during the day, have some drinks. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they would literally get the tables out, and you could dance.
Yeah.
There's like sort of like a DJ booth and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, strange enough, that place turned out to be I guess for me personally, because that was like really pure house. So musically, that was a great school.
Yeah.
Um, and I met Funker Man,
Mm-hmm.
who I started my first record label with,
Yeah.
Flamingo
Yeah.
Recordings. And he actually started that because I was always playing a track that actually came out as Get This Feeling. And he was like, oh my God, what is this? What is this? And it's like, yeah, it's something I made.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we got talking. And actually, he was thinking about a label for a while, but for him, this record was like, okay, let's do this record. And then
Yeah.
I believe so much in the record that could be the first release. So
Yeah.
which we did. And the funny thing was that so we got talking, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Started the label. He knew how to do that and everything in the back end and so on and so on. So we would get we would drive to Belgium, which would be like from where we were then about an hour drive
Mm-hmm.
for the pressing
Yeah.
of the vinyl. We put the stickers on ourselves on the vinyl, put them in the sleeves ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We had no distribution, but he knew a guy that also ran a label, and in the same building there was a porn distributor. Back when this was on I guess DVD and stuff.
Yeah.
So that still physically was brought to wherever you bring that.
Hmm.
So we asked him actually, like, hey, would you be so kind to make some extra stops and
Yeah.
drop our vinyls off. But that actually sort of, strange enough, that helped,
Mm.
because all the record stores were like,
What is
what's
this?
this? They actually thought it was sort of a like a PR stunt or
Yeah.
something, which
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
not. We just didn't know anything, and so that kind of worked out for us. So that
Hmm.
first release sold out.
Yeah.
We had to do an extra pressing, also sold out. So
Hmm.
that was actually already like a quite a big success, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and meanwhile, I was still doing parties in that cafe place.
Hmm.
I kind of never really stopped doing that, but yeah. So yeah, that got a little more serious. Then we did. I did another release a little later. Also did well. So like the first few things actually all did locally.
Yeah.
Just in Holland, but already did quite well.
Yeah.
Um, Let me think. Then that cafe place went bankrupt. So again, I was without work.
Yeah.
I barely had any bookings, just one or two,
Hmm.
whatever,
Yeah.
every 3 months or something.
Yeah.
But in my perspective,
Hmm.
I had the feeling I was making some waves, because
Yeah.
the music was doing well. I was getting some recognition from local DJs, a little bit from Belgium. Some guys from the UK were like, I actually had one booking in Edinburgh.
Yep.
Actually, yeah,
Hmm.
it was my first international booking ever.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that place closed down. Was still producing. Then I think my first international release was on Toolroom, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
It was called The Vibe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how I got there. Oh yeah, through a friend of mine
Mm.
who said like, yeah, I can do some stuff. I know some international guys. Like, okay, great. Send them the track, and they actually liked it.
Yeah.
So again, no bookings.
Yeah.
But on the music side, there were some things
Something going on.
bubbling a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and let me think. Then, because I had no bookings, I started my own parties again,
Yeah.
called Sneakers, which was kind of because back then you couldn't get into a club with sneakers,
Right.
but all the hipsters wore sneakers.
Yeah.
So that's why we called it Sneakers, and also made an agreement with the club, like, okay, on this night, that's the people we want to have,
Yeah.
and not,
Yeah.
it seems like a different world if you tell it now, but yeah. So that was actually super successful. So successful that I booked actually the other guy at my agency. Remember, there were
Yeah.
just two,
Hmm.
Eric. He came over, and I told my booker, like, because my booker was also, he was very well connected, because he did this for a long time. And I
Mm.
said, like, please come over, I'm doing this party again. But he was like, yeah, whatever, another party, whatever, it's going to be like 100 people. Yay. Like, no, seriously, this is really going well. So he came over, both came over, and were actually like super pleasantly surprised, that they decided to also do it in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So we sort of joined up, started doing Sneakers in Amsterdam. That really exploded. Yeah, yeah. It just sold out every night, and then we branched out to the beach in the summer, and we were doing one in Rotterdam and
Yeah.
one in The Hague, and so that really blew up. At a certain point, we were doing like compilation CDs,
Hmm.
and so I guess that was my first sort of real break.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess we are 28, 20, yeah, 28. I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I don't,
Yeah.
like, forgive me, it's probably not exact, but yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So this is like, so this is a little bit of a longer time span, but
Yeah.
yeah. And then actually, like, my with those records that I did on our own label
Mm-hmm.
with like the first international
Yep.
track signed, which was kind of a cool thing in especially in Holland, that you had something on a UK label. Like, oh my god, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
plus my own nights that really got me doing bookings,
Yeah.
like. Yeah, and the great thing was, I mean, Holland is like super small, but it's sort of accepted that you whatever you do one party in The Hague, then you drive an hour, you do another one there,
Mm-hmm.
then you drive another hour, and then you do another one there. So it was kind of normal to do like 3-4 gigs in one night,
Yeah.
and then like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually, and then you had a little. But it was great,
Yeah.
for the first time, I really felt. I sort of made it,
Mm-hmm.
to be really honest.
Yeah.
I could actually live off it. And it was growing. The parties were growing. We were expanding them. The label was doing super well for such a, remember, we were still putting the stickers on ourselves and putting them in the sleeves ourselves, was doing great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I that was actually the point where I thought, like, okay, in the end,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could actually buy like at a certain point, like a decent car that didn't fell apart. Oh man, I had some cars, but yeah, maybe I should tell, because I had one point. This is when the little cafe place went bankrupt, and I couldn't afford my rent anymore, so I was kicked out, moved back with my parents, and I mean, I love them, but
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to, you don't want to.
Uh-huh.
Wrecked my car, and they lived just across the border in Belgium, and were with nothing around you. If you didn't have a car, you couldn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister was kind enough to lend me her Fiat Panda.
Yep. Yep.
But this thing was sort of working, because if it was cold, I had to actually open the door, run with it, then jump in, put it into second
Oh
gear, and
wow.
then let the clutch come up, and
Yeah.
then, like, sort of with a lot of coughing and things, it would start, and then it
Yeah.
would drive. So at a certain point, I was in the studio, I was hungry. I took this car to the drive-through and do my order. She says, "Yeah, okay, you can pick it up at the second window."
Mm-hmm.
I want to go there, and the car breaks down. Doesn't do anything.
Between the
Can't get it
windows.
started. Yeah. So open the door, start pushing it. Everybody in the restaurant is laughing their ass off, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, it was funny. But that for me was a point that I really thought, like, dang, something really needs to happen now.
Yeah.
Because I think at this point I was in like a good 5 years or something.
Yeah.
So not 3 anymore, but 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, to go back to study something then is, I
Yeah.
mean, so
Yeah.
that was a point, sort of like a low point. And then thank God I started doing those parties that I just told you about that were
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I jumble up my timeline a little bit
No,
here and
don't
there,
worry.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. And I mean, you mentioned Flamingo and, Get This Feeling, and I think that was 2004, and then I think, from, I do want to talk about, Put Your Hands Up, and that was the Badass EP in 2006 that it first appeared
Yeah.
on Flamingo. Like,
Well informed.
I do my research. So, like, how did you get to that point? And that track specifically, how did that come together in the studio? And where did you find the sample from? And did you know what you had on your hands when you put it together?
So that first important big club I played, where I was had a residency, when they went bankrupt, they let us go through their record collection, which was like, freaking, even though they were closing, that was one good thing. So we dove in, and anything that I could find that sounded interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, so the original sample, where the original sample comes from, is from Matthew Deere. It's a very obscure breakbeaty track, but it was in there. And so took everything home, was going through it, and then I was like, oh dang, that's actually, I mean, the rest of the track was like, whatever.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm not saying it's a bad track, but that sample was like, oh my god, that's freaking amazing. So I always wanted to make house. You know, I was a fan of, still am, but Defected, Subliminal. Um, I think you had, I mean, there were a bunch of labels, but yeah.
Mm.
But I just didn't know where, I just couldn't figure out where they got, those samples from. I mean, now you have AI, but back
Yeah.
then, try in Holland, try to find like a good soul singer.
Uh huh.
It's just almost impossible,
Yeah.
So I always try to do house music, but then without guitars, without real bass lines, without, because I didn't know where to get those samples. I didn't know how to recreate that well enough.
Yeah.
So I always sort of tried to capture that feeling, but then with synths, And I think that's sort of not only me, but also Funkerman. That's sort of how we sort of, out of necessity more than anything else,
Yeah.
we kind of made this sound, which was like sort of like, oh my, people were like, oh my god, what's this?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because it sounded different, which it was. But for us, it was a lot of times it was like sort of like failed house tracks.
Uh-huh.
So because also with Detroit, it is actually, it's not the bass line is it's not an interpolation, it's not replayed, but
Mm.
like to me there was, like my stepfather actually used to listen a lot to like the Parliament,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
like funk
Funk.
stuff,
Yeah.
and you have a track of them called Flashlight,
Yeah. Yeah.
which just it
Uh-huh.
has that sort of like chromatic bass line. So I wanted to do something like that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then so I first I played that, and I was like, okay, but it's so slow, it's so laid back.
Yeah.
So I sort of like doubled the notes, and that's why you got digga 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 digga, because because I wanted to keep a little bit of speed in the track. I mean, it's not the same notes, it's not the same thing,
Yeah.
but the idea came from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with that actually because I wanted to make something funky,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But once again, did it with synthy things,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, and then already arranged quite a bit, and
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, then I needed something to elevate the track,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh my god, I still have this sample somewhere, So recorded that,
Yeah.
cut it up, and put it in, finished it within I guess like 2 days or something, yeah, 2 days, and then played it to Funkerman.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I made something. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's maybe a little cheesy. It's very repetitive. So what do you think? It's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty dope. We can do this. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, you know what? We'll do an EP. I'll make two more. Then this could be, B1, B2. You decide.
Yeah.
So I did Take No on the same EP
Mm-hmm.
and gave them to him. Okay, it was another EP. Great. Um, so he he went, he was going to prepare everything for the pressing. I was already trying it out and gave it to on my sneakers parties, and gave it to like a few guys that would play the parties regularly. I mean, I would always do that as soon as I finish the track, like, hey man, it's my new stuff, check it
Yeah.
out, maybe you like it, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So at a certain point, it was summer, we were doing a beach party, and I played it. I was opening, well, not opening, but second, but it was still not so busy. People were getting in, and like mainly concentrated on the side, blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Yeah.
And I I play it, and it just like everybody just, this is before it was actually released, but everybody rushed, just freaking rushed to the dance floor. Like within a second, it was completely full. So I was like, what's what the what the freak is happening? So apparently, because I played it before, I mean, here and there at gigs, but somebody recorded my set, made a cut of the track, sent that out to like a bunch of guys. So it was already, without me knowing,
No
or without
way.
us knowing, before it was even released, it was
Yeah.
actually already doing like in a
Right.
certain circuit, it was already going around. So
Yeah.
there was already like a buzz with that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we released it. It did very well on the dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and this is like, I think this is like freaking MySpace days or something, you
Yeah,
know?
probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, oh man, Dave Spoon,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they contacted me
Yeah.
on MySpace,
Mm-hmm.
and he did the track at night. I think it was called, if I'm not mistaken. But freaking just was like, oh my god, Dave Spoon is contacting me. This is so amazing. So he said like, hey, yeah, I heard your track. I'm a big fan of like Flamingo recordings. I was like, oh my god, can't believe this guy knows what we do.
Uh-huh.
What the freak? Yeah, that Detroit record. I really love it. Maybe my friend Mark from CR2 Records
Mm-hmm.
might be interested. Is it okay if I send it to him? I was like, yeah, sure, dude. I'm like already like, my big win was already that he liked it. I was like, oh my god. So he sent it to Mark CR2, and then I think within a few days, Mark contacted me and was like, oh yeah, we really want to do the records. Like, okay, let's do it. Great.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first step really where something really went outside of Holland,
Yeah.
or let's say Holland, Belgium. But
Mm.
because when they released it, all of a sudden Roger Sanchez was playing it, Eric Morillo was playing it,
Mm-hmm.
like a bunch of guys, and I was getting these calls and texts like, "Oh yeah, I'm just in Ibiza here, and they're freaking playing it, dude. It's gonna be big." It's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god."
Yeah.
I had just no clue what was happening.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I understood what was happening, but I was like, I just baffled. Um, and so it became like a huge club record
Mm.
at first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I I'm not sure how long that took. Might have been a year, might have been 6 months, but whatever. Then Ministry of Sound came along,
Yeah.
and Mark called me at a certain point, like, "Yo, we got an opportunity. Ministry of Sound wants to sign it, and they're gonna do a video and everything." Uh, okay, got flown to London. Yeah, did well the whole video. I mean,
Yeah.
I was there the whole day, but I don't know if you've seen the video. I mean, there for like two 2 seconds or so. It's fine. A typical video of
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then it really started to climb up the charts,
Yeah.
which was, I mean, up till it being a huge club hit, and I could still grasp why they would sign it,
Yeah.
but it going into radio charts, I
Yeah.
mean, till this day, to me, is the strangest thing ever,
Yeah.
because it's not a song,
No,
it's a hooky, funny, funky
it's a
club
it's a
record.
pure vibes club record, totally. And
Yeah,
yeah, to have that
yeah,
crossover appeal. I mean, it got to number one in the UK. It's
insane,
yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
insane. I mean, in hindsight, maybe my brain sort of understands how that worked,
Mm.
because they timed it really well. It was after the summer, so everybody played it, everybody heard it,
Mm-hmm.
so they did a great job, and with the video, which was spot on for that time. So I mean, I get it, but then still to number one, it's
Yeah.
just so, I mean, to be really honest, it was one of those flukes, one of those, the stars align,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun record. Don't get me wrong.
Mm.
I freaking still play a version till this day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's. I mean, yeah, it's just it is weird. I mean, there's no song structure. There's no. I mean, to me, it's still strange.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy about it. Don't get me wrong. But so from there,
Mm.
obviously, uh, I changed bookings agency, because in Holland, you just call it. Doesn't matter if it's I don't know, Cafe the Drunken Monkey or a super club. There was no,
Yeah.
somebody calls,
Yeah.
if you have a room in your schedule, you go. But internationally, that it doesn't work that
Mm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured that out, changed bookings agency, and yeah, and from that point on, it was of course like going all over the world.
Yeah.
Uh, which in the beginning was really because I remember like yeah, actually the one in Edinburgh was just before Detroit, but I remember going there and I was like, and it's, I don't know, I think it was teeny tiny club with like a super low ceiling.
Hmm.
And, if they would like a tune, they would actually bang on the ceiling. Like, I don't know. It's in one of the, I think it's in one of the Sean Paul video clips or something,
Okay.
but it was actually like that. I
Mm.
think I had 350 people or something, but I was so freaking nervous. I'm like, oh my God, they flew me all the way here, and what if there's no people? And what if they don't like it? And what if? So, yeah, in the beginning, I really had to get used to that because I
Mm.
was so used to like, if this gig is not great, an hour away, an hour drive away,
Yeah.
th- we're gonna do the next one,
Yeah.
and that will probably be fun. So it was that is something that took a little bit of adjusting,
Yeah.
I guess.
So how do you deal with that pressure like now? I mean, and even the pressure of, Detroit was a big hit. The pressure of potentially, did you put pressure on yourself to feel like you needed to follow that up to have something as big as that? Or,
I mean, yes and no, but of course, right after that, like there were so many remix requests, like, hey, do you want to do this remix? But it has to be like, it has to
yeah.
be like Detroit,
Hmm.
similar. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. That's gonna freaking. I didn't believe in it as a career move,
Hmm.
but I definitely didn't believe in it as a for myself
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm just gonna kill all my creativity, and I also thought like, okay, maybe you can do it twice, but what are you gonna do with the third record?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like just I gotta figure out something else.
Hmm.
I mean, I did some remixes, so that was all good. Some did great, some did average, but then we were doing. I'm not sure if it was a sneakers compilation CD or a Flamingo compilation CD. Not sure. Anyways, so we were trying to get as many tracks in, but of course, we're in high demand because it was just after Detroit.
Hmm.
So we got sent all kinds of stuff. So we were going through the tracks for the compilation, blah blah blah, checking, and then we found this track, the Creeps from with Camille Jones,
Hmm.
but it was sort of like we thought like, oh man, this is so cool, but it was too, I don't know, left field maybe or
Hmm.
something too. It was not dancey enough.
Yeah.
So Funkerman called which is like a small company in Denmark. They normally do music, like background music for like hotels and elevators and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But they had an artist, Camille Jones, and they managed her also. I was like, hey, yeah, really like the track. We would love to feature it on our compilation, but is it okay if we do a remix? Oh yeah, of course. Send everything over. So we did, but mainly to have something exclusive and cool on the compilation.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, that got also signed by Ministry, and I think that made it to number 7 or 5.
Yeah. It's
Correct me
definitely
if I'm
top
wrong.
10. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that made a little more sense to me
Hmm.
because that was already a bit more of a song.
Yeah.
But I mean, once again, this is not thought out. This
Yeah.
is not. I mean, yes, I didn't want to do another exact Detroit.
Mm.
I wanted to keep with our style, which now would classify as, I guess, electro house or something. I really don't care. But
Yeah.
back then it was like, this is what we like. This is new,
Yeah.
and let's do this. So yeah, so there was another freaking great success, but coincidental success, to be really honest, because we didn't plan any of this.
Mm.
And then the guys from Denmark who did Camille Jones contacted us again, uh, and they said like, yeah, we have another artist called Ida Core. Okay,
Hmm.
because I mean they've sent us some other things in between, but we're like, nah, not feeling this, not feeling this. But then they sent the the pop version, let's say, of Let Me Think About It. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this is so cool again. It's like so cool. I actually spent a lot of. I knew right away what I wanted to do with that.
Hmm.
So like the first playable version I had within a day,
Yeah.
but to make that arrangement work, especially, I mean, now that also sounds weird, but to make that, I spent, I think, maybe a month changing the arrangement every time, like this
No
shorter
way.
that, but just the arrangement,
Yeah,
not the mix,
yeah,
not not the beats or anything. It's like, it took me so long to figure out, like, okay, how should this be structured that it works right away
yeah,
on the dance floor.
yeah. And I mean, how are you testing that out? Are you testing it on the road at gigs, or
Yeah,
just are you tinkering in the
yeah.
studio the
I
whole
mean,
time?
I still do that.
Yeah.
You just figure out where you said it could go,
Mm,
play it out. I mean, you can't do that everywhere, of course, but there's always a few gigs where you can, like,
yeah.
try it out and then see how it sounds,
Yeah.
how people react. So I mean, the great thing is when nobody knows the track
Hmm.
and doesn't know it's yours or doesn't know it's anybody's, they don't know the singer. That is a true, honest reaction.
Yeah.
That's so, yeah. So that was
Yeah. My
great,
God.
but
Yeah.
that's why I could see, like, okay, they're actually losing attention a little bit, or like, no, if it starts like this, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, and then and like, once again, it did the whole, re-released it, and like, oh my god, but I think, because I mean, there's a little more. I'm so grateful for it. Let me think about it. I mean, I'm grateful for all the tracks. Don't get me wrong, but
Mm,
so super grateful for it. Let me think about it, because I mean, the scene back then was different. So when I had Detroit, and it went to number one,
mm.
which was crazy, but there was so much opposition opposition to me, as a, I mean, it's just a one day fly. He looks like a freaking Backstreet Boy. It can't be. No, I was like, I don't remember everything, but
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
was just, some interviews and stuff, it was really freaking insulting. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, so like, it was really great, but then pretty quick there was like backlash
Yeah.
in the sense, but also to where I wanted to go.
Mm.
It's like, people were like, no, no, we're not booking that. It's pop music.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't pop. We do. I was like, I don't want to freaking do pop music. I want to play house. That's what I always done.
Hmm.
So there was, so with the Creeps, it got a little better.
Hmm.
Strange enough, because I guess, maybe, I mean, it's less gimmicky. I guess it's still a gimmick, but it's less gimmicky. It has a bit more of an underground vibe to it, I guess.
Hmm.
So that it started to level, and like, after let me think about it, it was sort of like, okay, this dude is for real.
Hmm.
He's legit.
Yeah.
And that's actually really when I started to get, like, for instance, like, one of the first people to really take me under his wing was Carl Cox.
Hmm.
And I could play space for him and stuff, which was, and like, that was
Yeah.
my absolute freaking dream, doing, like, I don't know, like, playing 6 or 8 hours, I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly, freaking,
Hmm.
meeting, because we would stay at the villa, everybody who would play would stay at the villa, so I was meeting all these people, like,
Yeah.
freaking Green Velvet, like, oh my god, like, so that was so freaking surreal, and like, very, yeah, I mean, I learned so much from him about, I guess, how to stay yourself in this industry, how
Hmm.
to rally a family around you, because I mean, that's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I guess, just he's also such a humble person, and it's so freaking brilliant and still
I
around. I
know.
mean, still,
It's
just
like, and he's had
amazing.
such a longevity in the scene, It's like
Yeah,
unreal. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's also where I thought, like, yeah, I mean, that it's as they say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
it's like, I mean, it's always going to go up and down, but you have to have a long term vision.
Yeah.
Just don't try to always grab what's directly at hand. Because it's yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I really learned that from him and his team. So it's just
Awesome.
freaking
And
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, and space as well. To get to have experienced that in Ibiza, its peak
legendary.
with Carl Cox is
Yeah,
incredible. I mean,
yeah,
thinking about even bigger festivals and stages that you've been on. You've been Tomorrowland and all these types of festivals all over the world. And you mentioned at the top of the interview that you're maybe a bit shy, or when you went to Edinburgh, you're a bit like concerned, like is anyone going to turn up? Do you still have those feelings when you're playing on like these massive, massive stages with all this production and pyro? And how do you prepare what you're going to play for something like that?
I mean, I actually worry more about the smaller gigs
Mm-hmm.
because it's much more personal. Because I mean, I've done. I mean, don't get me wrong. The very first few times I did like big shows like that,
Mm-hmm.
I freaking, I barely made it.
Yeah.
But that's just because I guess it's fairly normal, to because it's all new. All of a sudden, like normally I would play like 126 or something, but if you play 126 BPM in such a big hall, it feels like 50 BPM. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
so slow,
Uh-huh.
So it was a bit of a steep learning curve there, also to figure out like, okay, I mean, this works in the club, but this works at a bigger
Yeah.
bigger place.
Interesting.
So that was a bit of a steep learning curve. So the first few times I was really nervous,
Yeah.
but for instance, like Sensation, and I freaking love that show. It was just such a beautiful show. But as a DJ, you just have like, I don't know, like 1,000 lights in your face. You don't see anything. You really have to go off what you hear the crowd do. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I think they like it. Um, I mean, and those kind of shows, I mean, to this day, I do prepare them, but the way I prepare is sort of leave still enough room to sort of like, okay, this is not working. Like we go to plan B or C, or
Yeah.
oh, it's great. Let's stay here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, because the funny thing is, I still structure my playlist as I used to do with my records.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would have like the like 4 or 5 records that I could start with at the beginning, and then like you further down, you go in the back, like there was a build up, So and it within the first record to the last record,
Yeah.
So the last record would be the hardest one, or
Yeah.
or
Like something tough, like really, or
yeah, or just like super, almost like trance, something that would
mm,
really, not that I ever played trance, but like something that would really melodic and
euphoric. Yeah.
kind of mellow. Yeah,
Yeah.
euphoric. Maybe that's the best word.
Yeah.
So, but I still structure my. So that's what I'm saying. I do prepare, but I could go from like the first track to the sixth track, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because I like, that's what they like, and
Mm-hmm.
then, oh, okay, no, they had enough, and then I skip. So I could have, probably, usually I have on one set list, I have enough music for like 5 or 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, on a festival, unfortunately, you only play 1 hour, one
Yeah.
hour and a half. So
Yeah.
you have to do those. But yeah, so that's sort of also some of the things I learned during that steep
Yeah.
learning
Of
curve in the
course.
beginning. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are here it's August 2025, and you've just dropped your latest track onto us on which is via Toolroom, called Liquid Music. I mean, it's got some huge, massive like power chords in it, and it's got that. I love anything that has like someone delivering some kind of sermon, or a voice talking about
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
house music, or talking about something, and it's got a big breakdown in the middle where someone's really kind of delivering it about the virtues of house music. I mean, tell us about the inspiration with where it came from for this latest one.
I mean, the funny thing is that first super club I ever played,
Mm-hmm.
this is inspired on a record I used to play there.
Okay.
For the life of me, I just couldn't remember which the name of the track,
Oh
so I couldn't find it
no.
anywhere. I was like, oh man, but I could just hear it in my head almost,
Uh-huh.
because I mean, generally, when I start making music, I make music for my set,
Yeah.
and I'll figure out afterwards if it belongs somewhere, or where it should go, or if it should never see any daylight, just, yeah. So that's why I was like, oh, okay, it was something like this. So you're
Mm.
just filling around. Okay, yeah, it was something like this. So it's definitely heavily inspired on Niquid,
Yep.
which is the artist name, which is actually Kid Cream.
Yep.
Yeah, and but it's a complete interpretation
Hmm.
of what I had in my head
Yeah.
about that track.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I just felt the breakdown needed something, and I this seriously, like, I had the record itself done for so long, was tested it, worked, but I knew it needed something, and it just freaking couldn't took for freaking ever
Yeah.
to, because I knew I wanted to have something like this, but
Mm.
I don't have a sermon around the corner that can be like, oh yeah, I'll do some for you. So
Yeah.
actually went through, I don't know, like hours,
Mm.
like because there's a lot of online sermons. So
Hmm.
see if I could find something. Couldn't. Asked a friend. Tried with AI. Tried it myself through AI.
Yeah.
No, I
Wow.
mean it's a very specific thing.
Yeah.
Also within house music,
Hmm.
actually.
Hmm.
Uh, so I just couldn't find anything, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna find something else. Went through like a whole bunch of vocal sample CDs, and I was
Mm.
like, oh, hey, wait a minute, this actually sort of has that feeling, but it was just like two words. I was like, oh, okay, but let me see what else is there. So like went through the whole freaking pack and like literally almost word for word, sentence for
Right.
sentence, do the whole thing, sort of like stitch it together,
Yeah.
and I'm super happy with how it came out. But yeah, it's
Amazing.
like, yeah, it's like freaking. It was some work. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but I mean,
what commitment though to know that it needed that and then to bring that all together.
yeah, but I think I mean, if somebody sends a track to you,
Hmm.
you know right away what is missing.
Yeah.
If you think it's it's not for me, or sometimes you're like, it could also be like, I hear it's a great track, it's just not my taste. That's something else. But sometimes you hear, like, sometimes you hear tracks like, yeah, I think the basic idea is good, but it's missing something. So a lot of times what you're looking for. It's just like, I mean, you can't always make it, find it. That is something sometimes. But
Yeah.
the best thing is put it aside, come back in a week,
Hmm.
try it again,
Yeah.
and sometimes you nail it in the second go, and sometimes it's the 150th
Yeah.
go. It's just
Got to percolate a little bit. I mean, and how is that? We've talked about your latest release, Liquid Music, and we've talked about, things like Put Your Hands Up for Detroit. How has your production technique and nous and know-how changed between those two kind of eras? Is it unrecognizable, or are there still old things that you still bring to the table that you like to do?
I think especially everything I've done after the pandemic is almost this. Well, I wouldn't say the same. Thank God it's not the same, but is very close to where I started.
Hmm.
I mean, if you get this feeling and you take this record,
Hmm.
it definitely has similarities. But
Yeah.
it, I, I'm having so much fun because there's over the years there has been so many things that I always wanted to make, but just couldn't figure it out, and I don't know why. Part of it is of course, all the things that are available nowadays. Synths are better.
Hmm.
AI helps, is a good help
Hmm.
to sometimes even to make an example. I'm looking for
Yeah.
something like this, and then you can send it to somebody, and he understands, or she understands you right away.
Hmm.
So, but now I'm at this point where I can literally, for maybe the first time in my freaking career, I mean, I told you, Detroit, I wanted to make something, couldn't,
Hmm.
still made something fun, but it was still frustrating because I couldn't make what's in my head. But
Yeah.
I'm finally at a point where I think like 9 times out of 10, I can actually make what's in my head, which is,
So
it's so much fun.
yes.
To be really honest, because it's the same. If you want to compare it, it's the same when you want to draw something.
Mm.
I mean,
Hmm. Yeah.
you literally see it. You know what you want to draw on the paper, but it doesn't automatically mean that it comes out.
Yeah.
Exactly like you have in your mind. So
Yeah.
that's just it's a really fun spot to be in.
Well,
So
absolutely a great place to be. Okay, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, and we're talking about tracks, and this is the moment in the interview where we're going to talk about your choices for our House Culture Perfect playlist. So
yeah,
this is the playlist that's it's housed on Spotify. Every single guest on this show has submitted a track, these 5 tracks to it. They're based on different themes. You're episode 86, so the
okay,
whole. You can imagine the size of this playlist is absolutely vast, and the different kind of styles and tastes in there. It's really, really
cool.
eclectic, which is what we like. and we all, you've been great. You've given me upfront your choices, which is always good. And you know that I'm going to do this part of the interview rather than me springing it on someone and they don't necessarily know it's coming. So we always ask for a catalyst tune, something that opened your ears to electronic music. And you've gone with Joey Beltram's Energy Flash. Can you just
Yeah.
give us a little story of to why you've chosen that?
Really, really, really early on,
Mm-hmm.
there was a pirate radio, and they wouldn't always air, but they actually played house music. But this was even before I fully understand it was house music. But we were like, me and my friend, we would stay up at night and have our tape deck ready to record that show because it was so out of this world music. But it was called Radio Ecstasy,
Mm-hmm.
and they would always play that little part, that
Yeah.
ecstasy, that part that's in the record.
Uh-huh.
So I guess because we were really looking forward to that and trying to stay awake, not always making it. But so I guess that's why when I finally figured out which record it was,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a freaking awesome record.
Yeah.
Um, you know, arguably one of the first, I guess now you would label it as techno records.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. So that's why it's for me such a
Yeah.
special record.
Incredible tune. Any time you hear it, anytime it's like when that's coming into a sound system is, yeah, it's just going to
Yeah.
be a really good moment.
Yeah.
Okay, a floor filler. You've gone with Who's Got the Funk? Your release on Dark Light from earlier this year. Do I have that
Yeah.
right? 2025. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why is that a floor filler? What damage have you seen that do to the dance floor?
I don't know. I mean, those are things that you don't determine pre-hand,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, yeah, of course, it's in my set, and people recognize the track, so that's I think also why it's a floor filler. But it's sort of like that is like the track for me where everybody sort of gets like, okay, now we've really started. It's not like teasing, it's not like warming up. It's
Yeah.
like now it's on.
Yeah.
So it's just been such a great, thankful record to play for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. I know exactly what you mean. It's that moment when me and my crew on the dance floor look at each other and say, they've turned the screw. They're turning the screw. Here
Yeah.
we go.
That's a good expression. Yeah. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
a sunsetter. You've gone with The Less I Know, The Better by Mal P, which, it's got that Tame Impala sample on it. It's absolutely a beauty. Why have you chosen that one?
I mean, to me that I mean, I also wanted to do something now.
Mm,
I mean, there of course there's a bunch of records that are
yeah,
absolutely beautiful from the past, but I think it's also important to recognize what's done now, and
absolutely.
I think he nailed that.
Hmm.
It's house. It has that feel good kind of. I mean, that maybe a touch emotional, but
Hmm.
it just has that. It has such a housey feel to it,
Yeah,
even though it's. I think it was from this year, actually, right?
yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah,
maybe last year. But yeah, so I just think it's a brilliant record. That's definitely what I would play at such a moment. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's just
great.
yeah,
It's got that
great.
funky bass line, which is always good. Okay, so a tearjerker. You've chosen Fragma, Toka's Miracle.
Yeah.
Why is that such an emotional one for you?
Well, I mean, let's start with I used to do sun down to sun up sets
Hmm.
almost every year in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Freaking like that was for me one of the pinnacles and highlights of the summer.
Hmm.
I've actually seen literally people cry when and I wouldn't play it every time, but once when I played it
Yeah.
almost at the end when the sun was coming up actually.
Yeah.
So that is the first, and I also did a remix from that, and actually, which is maybe not the most fun story, but got in touch with the actual singer,
Hmm.
and it has quite a sad backstory a little
Mm.
bit. So that's why I thought it was sort of because I mean not everything in this industry is always great
Hmm.
in terms of deals and so on.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it seemed befitting because it actually makes people cry on the dance floor, and there's a part that could make you cry if you would hear that whole story. So
Okay, we'll save that for part two.
it's a layered decision.
Yeah, no, it's I'd love that tune. Okay, last tune. Crowd's asking for one more. You play "I Can't Get Enough" by Soul Searcher.
Yeah, it doesn't need any explanation, of course. No, it's I mean, there's so many of those you will never forget
Mm,
evergreen classics, and I mean that to me, I mean, I always have some classics with me, and that's on there
yeah,
for sure. It's just freaking brilliant.
awesome.
In yeah, yeah,
Great choice. And yeah, what I've got to say as well, what I should have said at the Catalyst point, we've interviewed Waf for this podcast, and he, for his Catalyst tune, he did choose "Put Your Hands Up for Detroit" by your good self. So that's
oh,
already in our playlist as well.
that's
So
funny.
yeah, there you go. Okay, well, that was the last tune we've just chosen. This is the last question
Okay,
of the interview. We always ask this, I guess, at the end. Obviously, this is the House Culture podcast, and we're all about not only the music, it's all about the art, the personalities, the fashion, all of the different things that create a cultural movement, really, as
yeah.
alongside the music. When you think of house culture and the electronic dance music community as a cultural movement, like what has it brought to you in your life, and how does it make you feel?
I I would say, this house culture, I mean, it is almost, I mean, it is, but I think that is also why it tells you that it's art, is because it's a thing that's alive, moves, changes, has all the facets of what you come across. In There's a business side, there's a part that is just purely love for what it is. There's fashion involved, there's trends involved. It's a living, breathing organism with all the good and bad things that I mean, that's a whole nother podcast. But that everything that comes along with that. So yeah, but I think, um I think the main thing is that we, maybe through all those ups and downs, and good times, bad times, and tough people, and smart people, and soft people, but it's just a privilege that all of us can experience an art like this. It, because I think in the end, the purest idea doesn't change, and it's just, bringing people together, no matter where you're from, what you like, how old, rich, poor, tall, small, doesn't matter. You are, that is always in the end what it's about. So yeah, I think I'm grateful for that.
Perfect. Thank you for summing it up so wonderfully. Fedde Le Grand, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was awesome. It was really awesome.